Hi everyone, welcome to Introduction to Tableau. In this video, we will go over the Introduction to Tableau and we will go through steps to install Tableau Public Desktop on your devices. So to begin with, what is Tableau? Tableau is a software company owned by Salesforce. Tableau software is a business intelligence and analytics software. Tableau's paid products include Tableau Prep, Tableau Desktop, Tableau Cloud, and Tableau Server. Out of these, this course will be focusing on Tableau Public. Tableau Public is a free online platform that provides similar and limited features as Tableau Desktop does. So to compare Tableau Public and Tableau Desktop, first, to look at the price, Tableau Public is free for people to use. On the other hand, Tableau Desktop provides 14-day free trial, but after your free trial, it generally costs $75 and above per month. In terms of privacy, if you use Tableau Public, you can only publicly publish your dashboards. However, if you have Tableau Desktop, you can publish your dashboards privately so that they're only shared amongst your teams, your clients, or your company members. Now, looking at analytics and features of Tableau Public and Tableau Desktop, Tableau Public has limited features in terms of analytics, while Tableau Desktop provides a variety of advanced analytical tools. For example, if you have Tableau Desktop, you will be able to look at page views and number of visitors that have visited your dashboards, how long each visitor spends on your dashboards, what day of the week or what time of the day your visitors are utilizing your dashboards, and so on. When you use Tableau Public, there are two ways of creating your first visualization. One is through web authoring, which is using Tableau Public's online website to create worksheets and create dashboards directly on the website, which requires access to internet. The second way of creating your first visualization using Tableau Public is by downloading Tableau Desktop Public Edition. And this is the way we are going to create our visualization throughout this course. Now, to download Tableau Public on your laptop or computer, follow this link to Tableau Public's website. When you go to Tableau Public's website, you will see this landing page. If you don't have Tableau Public account yet, click on Sign Up for Tableau Public. It'll lead you to this page where you can create your first Tableau account using your name, email, and by creating the password. Once you create your login, you can go back to this Tableau Public's landing page and click on Sign In. Then use the login information that you created to sign in to Tableau Public website. Once you log in to Tableau Public using the account that you just created, you will see this page. Now from here, click on Create tab on the top of the page. Then click on Download Tableau Desktop Public Edition. It will ask you what your role is, and then you will be able to download the app. After you download Tableau Desktop Public Edition, click on the package to install it on your computer. Once you have installed Tableau Public on your computer, click on the icon to open Tableau Public Desktop Edition. Now that we have downloaded Tableau Public and installed it on our computers, in our next video, I will go over various elements of Tableau Public. We will learn to connect our first data set to Tableau Public, and then move on to creating simple charts such as bar and line charts using Tableau Public Desktop Edition. Hey everyone, welcome back to Introduction to Tableau. In our last video, we downloaded and installed Tableau Public onto our computers. In this video, we'll be getting started with Tableau Public. Alright, let's start with a quick overview of what we'll be covering in this session. By the end of this video, you'll be able to do 3 key things in Tableau Public. First, you'll learn to connect to a dataset. I'll walk you through how to connect Tableau to a dataset, whether it's an Excel file, a CSV, or a database. You'll learn how to get your data into Tableau so you can start exploring it and create data visualizations with it. Second, you'll learn about the structures of Tableau workbooks. Finally, we'll take a look at the key components of a Tableau worksheet, like shelves, marks, filters, and more. These will help you build effective data visualizations. So with that roadmap in mind, let's dive into our first objective, connecting to a dataset. There are various types of data sources that you can connect to Tableau Public. You can use Excel files, text files, spatial files, and even PDF files. When it comes to PDF files, Tableau Public will be able to read PDF files that includes tables on the pages. Throughout this video and the next couple of lessons, we'll be using sample data that comes with Tableau product. This dataset is called Superstore dataset. It contains information about products, sales, profits, and customers. And using this dataset, you can examine key performance metrics and customer insights. When you open Tableau Public, this is what you'll see first. On the left side, you see Connect to a File and the various types of data that you can connect on Tableau Public. The sample Superstore dataset is in a Microsoft Excel workbook form. So we'll click on Microsoft Excel, which will open the Tableau repository on your computer. Then click on sample superstore.xls. Okay, now on the left side, you can see the sheets that are part of this Microsoft Excel workbook. You can see that the sample Superstore has 3 sheets: orders, people, and returns. To give you an idea of what this workbook looks like, I will actually open this data on Microsoft Excel. So here is what the Excel workbook looks like. The first sheet of this workbook is orders, which includes individual orders along with information about the orders such as customer ID, customer name, the city and state that the purchase was made in, region, and so on. The second sheet, people, includes 2 columns, and the third sheet, returns, includes 2 columns showing order ID and whether the order was returned or not. So when you connect this sample Superstore Excel workbook to Tableau Public, what you need to do first is drag one of the sheets to create what's called a data model. When I drag order sheet, on the left side, I can see the fields of the sheet, which are also like names of variables. For example, we can see that the field name row ID is a number, whole number variable. An order ID it's a string type variable. On the right side, you can actually see the row level data of the orders worksheet. Overall, it shows that this order sheet has 21 fields and 10,194 rows. So this is how you connect a data set, in this example, this one particular sheet, to Tableau Public. Before we move on, I will briefly go over the different structures of Tableau. So this is the structure of Tableau. What we saw earlier is called a workbook. In a Tableau workbook, we have sheets, and there are different types of sheets. Worksheet is a single view of the dataset. It could take a form of table, bar chart, line chart, pie chart, and more, which we will start looking at in the next lesson. Another type of sheets is a dashboard. Dashboard is a collective of views from multiple worksheets. So imagine this being a canvas or a poster paper that includes more than one worksheets into one dashboard. Lastly, there is a story. A story is a sequence of worksheets or dashboards that come together to tell a story. One thing you should remember when you use Tableau Public or Tableau Desktop is that often Tableau prefers long format data. So on the left side on the slide is what we often call as wide format data. This format of data tends to have a lot of columns and few rows. But often to create data visualizations on Tableau Public or Tableau Desktop, it's easier for us to have our data in a long format, where each row is one record or one observation. Okay, now we're back on Tableau Public. Now that we have connected to a data set, we will be creating our first worksheet. You can do this by simply clicking on Sheet 1, which is a default name that Tableau gave for the first sheet. So what you see here is a worksheet. On the left side, you see the tables. And this table shows the variables that are in your data set. The variables that are shown in blue indicate that these are discrete variables. And then the variables you see in green on the bottom indicate continuous data. And here you have columns and rows. And these are called columns shelves and rows shelves. On the top right side, you have a Show Me button. If you hover over various types of data visualization you can create on this worksheet, it tells you what type of variables you should have in the columns and rows shelves. Now I will show a simple way of creating your first worksheet. Let's say I want to look at the order date. I can try dragging order date into columns. Then you'll see that Tableau automatically is showing order date in its year format. So we have 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And what I could look at is sum of sales in each of these years. I can look at them by dragging sales into the rows column. What you just noticed is that Tableau automatically chose the marks for you. Marks are the format in which the data is shown. So in this case, Tableau automatically chose line. So the sum of sales in each year is shown in the line form. For instance, in 2021, the sum of sales was 494,040. And in 2024, the sum of sales was 745,568. So this is how you create a worksheet in Tableau Public. In our next video, we will learn how to create tables, bar, and line charts. Hi everyone, welcome back to Introduction to Tableau. In our last lesson, we learned how to connect to an Excel file on Tableau Public. We also begin looking at key elements of Tableau worksheets, such as columns and row shelves. In this section, we're going to get hands-on with some of the most commonly used visualizations in Tableau. We'll start by building a simple table, and then we'll move on to creating bar charts and line charts. These are foundational visualizations that you'll use all the time. As we build these charts, we'll also talk about when to use them and why. For instance, bar charts are great for comparing discrete categories, while line charts are useful when you're showing trends over time. Okay, first, let's learn to build a table. Tables are useful in sharing data or presenting exact values with the audience. To build a table, we first need to create a table by placing one dimension on the rows shelf and another dimension on the columns shelf. Drag one or more measures to text on the marks card. Marks on Tableau shows how your data is visualized on Tableau. For a table, we want to show the data, whether it's letters, characters, or numbers, as text. So we select the text marks by dragging one or more measures to text. We can also change values to percentages if needed. Now let's open Tableau Public to build a table. Okay, so here we are back on Tableau. I'm actually going to change the name of this sheet, which is currently at default sheet 1, to table. This automatically updates the title of the sheet because the title is set as the sheet name. But instead of titling the sheet as table, I am going to change the title to sales by category. Okay, let's say I want to look at sales by category for each year that the order was created. First, I'm going to drag the order date dimension to the columns shelf. You'll see that Tableau automatically chose to show order date in the format of year. So we have 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Now on the rows shelf, I am going to drag the category dimension. Here we can see that there are 3 categories: furniture, office supplies, and technology. So I want to see the amount of sales that occurred in each of these years by category. And because I want to show this as a text table, I will drag sales measure into the text of the marks card. So now we see that the sum of sales in each year by category has been populated into the cells of the table. And when you hover over this table, you'll see this little box pop up. And these are called tooltips. They show more information about the cell that you're hovering over. For example, this 162,125. When you hover over this number, you see that this is for category for furniture for the year of order date 2021, and for sales, $162,125. But let's say you want to see these sum of sales as percentages. For example, let's say the question I want to answer is, what percentage of sales that occurred in 2021 was for furniture? So to do that, we can click right on sum sales and go to quick table calculation. From there, choose percent of total. So right now what you see is percent of total across rows. As in, the 4 cells for furniture adds up to 100%. But that's not what we want to answer. What we want to answer is, what percentage of sales in 2021 was from furniture? So what we can do is click right on some sales again, and we can click compute using table down. So now what happened is if I drag all the cells that account for 2021, these will add to 100%. So now we can answer the question. In 2021, of all the sales that occurred in 2021, about 32.8% came from furniture sales. Often, I don't need all 3 digits showing after the decimal point. So what I'll do is click right on some sales again, and then click on format. And then on the left side, click on numbers. I'll click percentage, and I only want to show, actually I don't want to show any decimal places. Okay, so now we see the percentages without decimal places. And this is how you create a simple text table on Tableau. Now let's build a bar chart. We use bar charts to compare counts or amount across different categories. First, we'll create a bar chart by placing one dimension on the rows shelf and a measure on the columns shelf, or vice versa, depending on whether you want horizontal bar chart or a vertical bar chart. And then on the marks card, select bar. Now we'll open Tableau to try building a bar chart. Okay. To create a new worksheet, click on this icon on the bottom of the screen. You'll see that Tableau automatically named this new sheet, Sheet 2. To make it easy for us to keep track of our sheets, I will rename this sheet to bar. Okay. So I want to show the sum of sales by category. So first, I will drag sales into columns, and then category dimension into rows. So now you'll see that we have created a simple bar chart that shows sum of sales for each of the category. Now, I want to see sum of sales by category by the year that the order was created. So what we can do is drag order date in front of category in the rows shelf. So now what we see is that we created a bar chart that in a way conveys the same information as the text table that we created. So here we have created a simple bar chart. Again, you can change the name of the sheet from bar to, let's say, sales by category. Now let's say you want to change the color of these bars. For example, I want each category to have a color of its own. We can do this by dragging category onto color on marks card. Right now, Tableau is using one of its default color palettes, but we can change the color to ones we like by clicking on color and edit color. One way of editing color is by selecting another color palette. For example, I could choose winter color palette, and then I click on the category and then assign the category to a new color from the palette that I chose. Another way of editing color is by double-clicking on the category. Then I can change the color by using the color wheel, color sliders, color palettes, image palettes, and pencils to assign new colors into the category. So this is how we create a simple bar chart in Tableau. Now I will go over how to build a line chart using Tableau. Line charts are used to visualize a sequence of values and are useful in showing trends over time. We create a line chart by placing a measure on the rows shelf and a dimension on the column shelf, or vice versa. I'm going to place sales on the rows shelf. And then I will place order date on the column shelf. You'll see that Tableau has automatically chose line as the type of marks. If it doesn't, you can click the drop-down menu on marks and click on line yourself. There's also a way to easily switch the columns and rows. This icon here swaps rows and columns. So if I click on it, you can see that x-axis and y-axis of the graph is switched. But to show a time trend, we typically put the time variable, whether it's year, month of the year, on the x-axis, and we will graph the measures that we want to look on the y-axis. Right now, this line chart is showing order dates in the format of year. We can also change that. If you right-click on order date, for example, we can use month. If we click on month here, we'll get a data point for each month of the year that we have data for. And let's say we want to draw time trend graph for each category. In that case, we can add drag category into the row. Now we have created 3 line charts. One for furniture, one for office supplies, and one for technology. This is how you create a simple line chart on Tableau. Similar to bar charts, you can use colors to change the color of the line. You can also use different markers to mark different points in circles. In our next video, I will go over how to create histograms and create filters in the charts that we have learned so far. Hi everyone, welcome back to Introduction to Tableau. In our last lesson, we learned how to make text tables, bar charts, and line charts. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to create histograms and filters. At the end of this lesson, you'll learn how to build a histogram, add colors to histograms to show categories, and add labels, and we'll also learn how to create filters for interactivity. Let's start off by learning how to build a histogram. Histograms are a great way to understand the distribution of your data. For example, you can look at grade distribution of students or distribution of number of purchases per customer. Histograms help you spot patterns at a glance. The simplest way of creating a histogram on Tableau is by using the Show Me function. To do this, we drag a measure to columns or a rows shelf. And then we click Show Me on the toolbar and then select the histogram chart. Okay, now let's open Tableau to create our first histogram. We're going to start off by looking at something simple. So quantity in this data set refers to the number of items in a particular order. I'm going to drag the quantity measure onto rows shelf. And then the most simple way of creating a histogram on Tableau is by clicking on Show Me and then click on Histogram. So now we see that Tableau has created a simple histogram showing the distribution of quantity in a given order. You'll also notice that on the Tables card, Tableau has created a new dimension called Quantity Bin. In a histogram, bin size refers to the width of each rectangular bar, which represents a range of data values. Essentially, it decides how finely the data is grouped into intervals, and choosing an appropriate bin size is important for visualizing the data distribution effectively. So we can click right on quantity bin, click on edit to see what Tableau has chosen as the size of bins. So here we see that Tableau chose 1.66 as bin size. However, we know that quantity is a discrete number. Like in a given order, you'll either have a quantity of 1 or 2, but you'll never have a quantity of 1.6. So when I know that the quantity or the measure that I'm looking at in a histogram is discrete, I like the size of bins to be a whole number. So in this case, I will change the size of bins to 1. Okay, now we have created a histogram showing the distribution of quantity. How do we read this histogram? So this means that there are 933 orders where the quantity of the order is 1. And another example is there are 2,440 orders in which the quantity of item ordered is 2. As you see, the bar for quantity of 2 and the bar for quantity 3 is very similar in its height. One way we can make it easier for people or your audience to know the difference between these closely heighted bar is by adding label. I can do this by dragging quantity measure to the label on Mark's card. Okay, right now Tableau automatically chose to show sum of quantity, but we want to show count of quantity. We can do this by clicking right on sum quantity, go to measure, and then change sum to count. Okay, now we see that the most common number of quantity or put in an order is a quantity of 2. There are 2,440 orders in which the quantity was 2, and there are 2,435 orders in which the quantity was 3. So we looked at how we can add labels to the bars on histogram. Similar to bar chart and line chart, we can also use color to show different elements of histogram. For example, I can color the histogram bars by category. So here we see that for orders in which quantity was 2, 440 orders were for the category of technology. There isn't anything particularly interesting when we add color by category. So if I were to present this data, I think I would prefer to not have the histogram color by category since it doesn't convey any meaningful messages. Okay, next we are going to look at how to create filters. Creating filters. Why do we create filters in Tableau? There are two reasons or two purposes of creating and using filters in Tableau. First is to filter data that is used to create charts and graphs. For example, your data set may have 10 years worth of data, but you want to create a bar chart only showing the data from one specific year. The second reason we create filters in Tableau is to create dynamic interactivity that allows your users and audience members to filter the data themselves. For instance, you could create a bar chart showing data from all 10 years, but you can provide a filter for the users to select different sets or ranges of years. Okay, now let's first think about the scenario where we want to filter data that is used to create charts and graph without adding interactivity element. For instance, let's take a look at the histogram we created. If we remember, the sample dataset that we used includes orders from 4 years. But let's say I want to create a histogram that only includes order from the most recent year. So first, I will drag the order date dimension to filters. And the unit I want to use for order date is years. Now it shows the available years I have for order date. And I only want to look at 2024. So I click on 2024 and then I click OK. So now this histogram is showing the distribution of quantity only for the year of 2024. And to let myself and my audience members know that this histogram is only showing data from 2024, I would change the title of the histogram to something like Distribution of Quantity for Orders in 2024. Now, let's think about the second scenario in which we want to create filters. To create dynamic interactivity that allows your users and audience to filter the data themselves. We do this by clicking right on year of order date and clicking on Show Filter. Now, we see this filter card on the right side. To maximize the size of histogram, I will drag this filter card to below marks. You can edit the filter in different ways. In this case, I only want my users to be able to filter and show 1 year at a time. Right now, the filter is set that they can show all years, or they can click on however many years they want to look. To allow users to only pick 1 year, I will click on this drop-down menu, and then I will change the type of filter to single value drop-down. Now you can pick 1 year at a time, but there is still an option to click for all the years. But I do not want this option. So I will click on this drop-down menu again, and then I will go to Customize and unclick Show All Values. So now, from the drop-down menu, your audience members can only pick 1 year. But then you have this problem of your title of the sheet. I named the title of the sheet Distribution of Quantity for Orders in 2024. But I want the year 2024 to change depending on what my users choose from the filter. I can do this by deleting 2024 and clicking on Insert, and then clicking on Year Order Date. So I apply this and click OK. So now we see that if I or my audience members choose different year, the title of the sheet updates to reflect the year that they have chosen. So this is how we use filters to either filter the data that is used to create charts and graphs, or to create dynamic interactivity that allows your users and audience to filter the data themselves. Using the same method, we can create filters for bar chart and line chart that we have learned in the previous lessons. For example, here we have a bar chart showing sum of sales for each category. This bar chart includes all the years of order date 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. But let's say I want people to be able to filter for particular order dates. And for instance, we know that the superstores were having a sale from particular date. So instead of choosing for 1 year, I want the user to be able to filter the data for a specific range of dates. And then in this case, I want the users to have the interactivity so that they can use the filters themselves to look at the range of dates and during which sales were going on. So we'll click on filters. We'll click on order date on filters, click right on it, and then click on show filters. Now we see that there is a scale bar that people can use to look at sum of sales during particular range of dates. For instance, let's say that there was a sale going on between December 1st of 2024 and December 30th of 2024. So now this graph is showing sum of sales in which the order occurred between December 1st, 2024 and December 30th, 2024. So here we have reviewed some different ways of creating and using filters on Tableau. In our next lesson, we will learn the key steps we should take to create our first dashboard on Tableau Public.